For more on Kentucky, let's go to Jessica Wimsatt. She covers the Wildcats. She joins us live now from Jacksonville. UK routing Abilene Christian last night in opening round. I thought they were going to stop the game at one point. They were so dominant, Jessica. They'll get Wofford tomorrow in the second round. Let's start with this. P.J. Washington. He's the Cats' leading scorer, but he did not play last night. Sat out the game with a foot injury. Could they maybe get him back for tomorrow, or is this a longer-term injury for him?
Well, unfortunately, guys, we don't have a ton of information about P.J. Washington, but the information that we do have so far isn't looking too good for Kentucky. Now, after the game last night, John Calipari told us what we do know, which is that tests have continued to confirm that P.J. Washington's injury is just a sprain, not a fracture. That's the good news. The bad news is that when Calipari was given the option of that precautionary walking boot that P.J. was in earlier this week, or a hard cast that he was told would promote and quicken the healing process, Cal said, you know, let's put him in the boot. So that is where we are at right now. I got a couple looks at it last night. It is a hard cast. Okay. So that is what he is in right now. As for when that thing is coming off, that is also sort of up in the air. You know, Cal said after the game last night that there are basically two options. Either the cast will come off later today, they'll take a look at his foot, reevaluate, and go from there. But the more likely option is that it will remain on, unfortunately, throughout the weekend, and then they will take it off either on Tuesday or Wednesday, reevaluate then, and, you know, go from there. So, of course, that would mean that P.J. Washington would once again be missing the game tomorrow night. That is not what he or the Cats wanted to hear coming into this game against a very tough Wofford team. And, you know, we keep being repeatedly told that this is a fluent situation, and so we will, of course, just have to keep getting updates. We'll hear from Cal later on today. Hopefully he'll have some more information for us, but the only thing we know right now is that it is a tentative situation. PJ, as of this morning, still has that hard cast on his foot, so not looking too good.
We'll be following that very closely, as you'd imagine. So obviously with PJ not there, that means somebody else has to do the scoring for Kentucky. Last night that was Keldon Johnson, hitting nearly double his average last night, 25 points in the win for the Cats. He's a potential NBA lottery pick. Does he have something to prove in this tournament? And maybe with PJ's absence, I guess there's a little bit more pressure there, too.
Yeah, well, I talked to Keldon Johnson after the game last night about what exactly was working for him last night, and he told me that basically he had the mentality that every single person on this team has right now, and that, again, goes back to the absence of P.J. Washington. They know with their sophomore star missing that every single person on this roster has to step up, and that's what Keldon Johnson did last night. You mentioned Wofford, and this team is certainly not taking the Terriers lightly at all. They know they are a very dangerous team, and that every single person, including Johnson and the other guards, will have to step up tomorrow night if they want to get that win. But they all told me last night, you know, they got their first tournament game jitters out of the way yesterday. They're hoping that they can head into tomorrow night's game with the same mentality that probably every team in the tournament has right now, and that is just simply win and advance.
All right, Jessica. So on that note of Wofford, if you watched him last night, it was extraordinary. You actually saw history. 7 threes last night, made by Fletcher McGee. That gave him 509 for his career. That is the most in NCAA history. Wofford is shooting the three now, Jessica. Is that a concern for Kentucky going into tomorrow?
Well, I think it's certainly a concern for Kentucky fans. I was out here yesterday, and especially with that absence of P.J. Washington, they were a bit worried if Wofford won that game last night, which of course they did. And I mean, I think the only positive that you can take from that is that Kentucky's defense has looked very good through this final stretch of the season, you know, aside from that lapse at the end of the SEC game against Tennessee, the third game actually. Right. So I think that they will be able to handle it okay. But I mean, like we just said, you know, guys like Keldon Johnson, Ashton Hagans, Hero, those guys are going to have to step up to make up for the absence of P.J. Washington. And if they don't, then we're going to have an upset here in Jacksonville tomorrow night.
That'll be something to follow. Jessica Wimsatt joining us live from Jacksonville to talk about the Wildcats. Thanks for helping us, Jessica. Appreciate that.